Time magazine years ago had Martin Luther King on the cover, and they profiled him when he led the Montgomery bus boycott. And in that commemorative issue, Time magazine said when Martin Luther King led that boycott in December 1955, there were only 5 black millionaires in the United States. I interviewed all of them based off of that article. A.G. Gaston. He darn near worked in the minefields, coal mine. He saw his supervisor reading the Wall Street Journal, and that was the first time he ever saw the word millionaire in print. And he says, I'm going to be a millionaire.
I love it.
And that is the key. There are 10 different forms of wealth, and only money is one of them. Number one form of wealth is knowledge. Prosperity begins in the mind, but ends in the purse. Manage money, or money will manage you. You can't go into the future with the biology of the past. If you're going to be born again, then change your thinking, which is the greatest power that we've ever been given. The power to change your mind.
Because your mind isn't renewed.
Exactly.
Right? It's still conforming to the patterns of the world.
Exactly. Capitalism is not a dirty word. Capitalism means that everything is for sale. He says, capitalism, according to Adam Smith, I allow you to pursue your divine self-interest, and you allow me to pursue my divine self-interest. But if one party blocks the other, it is not capitalism. And for 400 years, we've been blocked. So what in the world have we been living under? We've been living under the socialism of the wealthy, of the rich, of the privileged. That's not capitalism. So until we have a level playing field, then any obstacle can be overcome. Until we look at entrepreneurship in the clear light of day. What do small business owner operators do? Well, they run small businesses. What do entrepreneurs do? Well, entrepreneurs change the world.
So what does it take to truly break generational poverty? Not just with hustle, but with purpose, faith, and legacy in mind. Few people have answered that question more powerfully than Dr. Dennis Kimbro. He is an award-winning author, educator, and one of the most respected voices on black wealth and personal development. Best known for Think and Grow Rich, a Black choice, Dr. Kimbro has spent decades studying the habits, mindsets, and strategies of black millionaires, distilling their wisdom into principles anyone can apply. A professor at Clark Atlanta University and a global sought-out-after speaker, his work fuses timeless success principles with faith, culture, and economic empowerment. Today, we're diving deep into faith, finance, and the untold blueprint of wealth. So Dr. Dennis Kimbro, honored to meet you, sir.
Hey man, how are you doing? Thanks for having me.
And Dr. Cedric, thank you for allowing this occasion for us to receive our honorary doctorate. And he's in my class.
Well, hey,
what?
Man. Hey, it's blessed to be a blessing in the kingdom of God, so I'm just glad that we're here, man.
Amen, amen. So before we get started, how did you guys all get connected? How was this established? Because I just happen to be here, and I'm just honored to be here and be a part of it.
Okay, well, I own a company called Trust Up. Trust Up is basically all about building generational wealth by using a special trust. And a few years ago, I decided to start a Trust Up conference. And I reached out to Dr. Dennis Kimbro, Les Brown, a few people, and we decided to come together in Dallas, and we did a conference. We hadn't done one the past couple of years, but I thought it was time to reignite. So I reached out to Dr. Kimbro again. He decided to come down once again, and we just did it this weekend. And hey, we had a great turnout, and it was a great program. And I think the timing is just perfect right about now to do what we're doing. You're
being a little bit modest, Cedric. It was a great event. You touched and you impacted so many lives.
Well, thank you. That's what it's all about, with your help, though.
The way I came across your work is I was doing an interview with Fawn Weaver a few weeks ago, actually a couple months ago. Time flies by so quickly, but she had mentioned to us that people often read Think and Grow Rich, the Napoleon Hill version. Mm-hmm. But she goes, however, you always need to pick up Dr. Dennis Kimbro's version, and you were kind enough to do a video to Fawn.
Yes.
And she already responded. She says, love this. Tell him this is the #1 book I recommend to people of every race. Even though it's written for us, there is so much greatness in that book. Well, the #1 behind the Bible, of course.
Wow. Well, I am so honored. Yeah, and I caught wind of what she did, and that's the goal. That's the dream of every writer, looking for an audience for his or her voice. But let me clarify something. It's really not two different versions. If Napoleon Hill would have lived 1 year longer, he died in 1969, age 87. The last manuscript he was working on was entitled Blacks Are Growing Rich. He was attempting to write a black version of his all-time classic. And his business partner, W. Clement Stone, held on to those 100 pages for 16 years to the day that he met me, November 3rd, 1986.
Wow. It's interesting because I'm in the life insurance business, and Clement Stone created Aon
Exactly.
Corporation.
Yeah, because Hill was basically retired, and W. Clement Stone caught wind of Think and Grow Rich. He hired Hill to come in and motivate his staff. They developed a very in-depth relationship, and he asked Hill to come out of retirement, and Hill said, only one condition, if you will be my manager, and the rest is history.
Crazy. Well, now that we're going to talk on the insurance business, I often say today that the only black owner of a life insurance company in America today is Magic Johnson, owning Equitrust Life in Chicago and Atlanta Life, which was originally founded by Alonzo Herndon.
The Herndon family.
That's right.
And I got a chance to spend some quality time with the grandson, and their building, their home is right there,
That's
still
right.
the same,
The historic
off
home.
of Auburn Avenue and stuff. But I'm glad you brought that up, because I had a great interview with T.M. Alexander. You may not know who T.M. Alexander was, but he was the individual who insured the cars that were used in the Montgomery bus boycott.
Wow.
When he graduated in 1944 from Morehouse College, an uncle gave him a $100 bill as a graduation gift. He took that $100 bill to start his own insurance company. So that rich legacy, and what is insurance?
$100.
Insurance is a hallmark of entrepreneurship where you are forsaking today for tomorrow. It's almost like the lazy man or the lazy woman's way of savings. That's an annuity, that's an asset that can be used for the future and for generational wealth.
Talk to us about A.G. Gaston, because he started his insurance company, founded Booker T. Washington Insurance Company in Birmingham, and he started really as a way for churches to fund funerals.
Without a doubt. Time magazine, years ago, had Martin Luther King on the cover, and they profiled him when he led the Montgomery bus boycott. And in that commemorative issue, Time magazine said when Martin Luther King led that boycott in December 1955, there were only 5 black millionaires in the United States.
What year was this?
This was 1955.
Wow.
There were 5 black millionaires in the United States. I interviewed all of them based off of that article. And I remember driving from my Atlanta home 2.5 hours to spend half a day with A.G. Gaston. And he had an interesting story because he darn near worked in the minefields, coal mines, okay? And during lunch break, he saw his supervisor reading the Wall Street Journal, and that was the first time he ever saw the word millionaire in print. He goes to a supervisor and says, "What is that?" He says, "That's somebody with $1 million worth of assets, blah, blah, blah." And he says, "I'm going to be a millionaire."
I love it.
And that is the key. You know, there are 10 different forms of wealth, and only money is one of them. And I still get pushback from my students. How come money is number 3 and not number 1? Number 1 form of wealth is knowledge. And as I said in this confab, prosperity begins in the mind, but ends in the purse.
Yeah, so success is a mentality, it's not necessarily
it's a mentality,
payroll.
man. Yeah, you can't change your life until you change your mindset.
In your opinion, people can, lifestyle creep. You make $100,000, but you spend $150,000.
Yeah.
You make $1 million, you can spend $1.5 million.
Any amount of money can be spent. And you never make money your goal. You make the wise, productive use of money your goal.
So question I have for you is, how have you seen faith directly influence the financial outcomes of the individuals you
Well,
study?
from all my research, these individuals had deep-seated spiritual beliefs. I have in my book, in The Wealth Choice, I have what is called the calculus of compensation. And there are 9 different entities, and one of them is spirituality, and faith. And I show how the have-not views it and how the have views it. The have-not will look at faith and they say to praise, to practice, to worship. But the have says to praise, to practice, to worship, and to put it into action. You know, we go ahead and we read the biblical verse, I can do all things that Christ which strengthens me. Well, the have will look at that and say, well, if I can do all things through Christ, what are we doing sitting here? Let's go ahead and get something
Let's go.
done.
Yeah.
Faith is a verb. It's not an adjective.
100%. When you wrote this book, what are some of the biggest mindset barriers you observed, and how can faith and entrepreneurship help break that?
Well, number one, top of the list, believe in yourself when no one else will. Believe in yourself when no one else will. There's two types of faith. There's faith in self and there's faith in others. The average individual that we pass on the street will take that faith and place it into somebody else. Mm-hmm. But the peak performer, the game changer, somebody that wants to do something with his or her life, if they got to bet the farm, they're going to bet the farm on themselves. So we think in terms of faith, well, what happens if I fail? Failure is failure only if you accept it as such. But failure is a learning opportunity, and you never fail if you have the courage to ask that question, what can I do next time? How can I redouble my efforts? And that's what I've seen in all of my focus groups with Black millionaires.
That's interesting. When you're thinking about the situation of generational poverty and systemic injustice and the redlining and all the jazz that's going on back there to prevent opportunities from creating.
Well, don't say going back then. Redlining supposedly ended in
today,
1968, right? But we still see, the federal government really created the ghetto, man.
Hello. So what do you think life insurance and legacy planning and financial literacy play in one's journey towards wealth? How does it all really bundle together? Because oftentimes people think that life insurance, I mean, if you talk to a different generation of maybe 30, 40 years ago, they embraced insurance. Today, they're not so much embracing insurance. Maybe it's because there's a lack of representation in the multicultural demographic in insurance business, whereas before, compared to today, there's more black ownership and multicultural ownership of life insurance companies as there is today.
Well, I think it goes a little bit deeper than that. I think that this generation has, I don't want to say attained a view, but they may not fully understand the power of compound interest, okay? And when you look at all the different entities, I don't care whether it's insurance, I don't care whether it's home ownership, I don't care whether it's equity, they all operate from the same mechanism. The ability to forsake today for a greater tomorrow.
Well, delayed gratification.
Exactly. And it goes back to that mantra we know, would you rather have $1 million in cash or would you rather have a penny doubled for 30 days and the like? Understanding, you make money, how do I want to say it? And I had it on the tip of my tongue. Money does not become wealth until you have it from different sources. When I tell people you are really wealthy when you can earn money in your sleep, during your downtime, during your time of rest, during your time of leisure. And I remember when I was dead broke writing that first book, and I'm being trained by W. Clement Stone, and he said to me, young man, your financial structure won't be like this for long. And I said, what do you mean? So your life is going to change once that book is released. He said, you got to promise me something. And I said, what is that, Mr. Stone? He said, develop the habit of saving 10 to 15% of every dollar bill that you earn.
Wow.
He said, start it then. And that's a habit that I continue in addition to, my investments, in addition to my assets and whatever. I still got that savings. Because one of the things that I found in my focus group with these Black millionaires, I asked them, what age, and this research came back 99.9% of the time. I asked them, I said, what age were you when you crossed the 7-figure threshold? And they said age 41. I said, what age were you when you crossed the 6-figure threshold? 99.9% of the time, it came back by age 30. So I tell my students, if you do anything, set a goal of earning $100,000 by age 30. And then keep doing what you're doing at the same pace. Somewhere between the age 40, 41, 42, you're going to look down and see yourself standing in a pot of liquid gold.
If I can maybe push back a little bit, somebody might say, well, that was great in the 40, 50 years ago. But maybe back then you had a little bit more money left over from your expenses and your paycheck as compared to today.
inflation.
Where most people's, correct, with inflation, most people's salaries are eaten up by inflation and just the normal cost of living. So it's harder for them to save 10, 20%, even though that's a principle that stood the test of time, because this can't be the first inflationary period that we've ever experienced where it's tough to save. Every generation will have an excuse, every generation will point out. But what would you say to somebody who says, I really can't save, doctor, because everything I got going on to rent, a car payment, I got nothing to save left over?
Well, the bottom line is one of the ways that you can do it is through payroll deduction. I'm not going to tell you how to go ahead and manage your finances, but if you want to do it, you'll find a way to do it. I mean, this is something that has occurred through the continuum of the millennium, the power of savings. And I can use myself as a perfect example. My wife and children would say, Dad, you live so far below your means. And they always get on me about my car. Okay, so here we are in 2025, and for the last, since 2006, 19 years, I've been driving the same Lexus SUV.
Is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
I am walking distance of 300,000 miles.
How many,
So,
so I'm 300,000 miles in a car.
300,000 miles on the car, my students laugh at me. And I go back to Martin Luther King. I said, what do you know about Martin Luther King? Here's a guy who never earned more than $10,000 a year over the course of his life. He had 6 suits, 4 black, 2 gray. And my students say, well, he did win the Nobel Prize, and with that came a cash windfall in excess of $200,000, but he gave every dime back to the movement except $10,000 to repay his father for his income taxes. So what am I saying? I said, manage money or money will manage you. And that's something that you have got to learn and develop the habit to do.
You know, there's a policy at the Alonzo Hernan House. Shout out to my guys that run our Atlanta office, Jasmine and Ellis Suazo. And they went to the Alonzo Hernan House, and guess what they found sitting there in the Alonzo Hernan House? The Atlanta life insurance policy issued on Dr. Martin Luther King's life at 42 years old. I think it was like a $5,000 policy. But it just goes to show he was being financially responsible as far as getting a policy done.
And I remember when I was small, and my mother, who was a nanny, she had the habit of savings, and she would, once a month, whatever money that she had left over from saving, whether it was dollar bills, whether it was coins, we did not have a community bank where we lived. So the bank that she banked at was about a mile away. And I remember distinctively how she would place her savings and her savings passbook in an envelope, scotch taped the envelope to my shirt, and I walked to the community bank and she said, boy, when you get up there, you tell the teller that you want to sit down with the individual that's over the savings. They would unpin it, take the passbook, add the money up, and show her where she made a deposit and hand it to me. They wouldn't repin it, and I'd put it in my pocket and walk home, and I would give it to my mother.
Wow.
She was a nanny. My mother had a 7th grade education, but developed a habit of saving.
That's amazing. When you're looking at the faith community, the church, do you think the church does enough to teach financial stewardship and financial empowerment? You see so many viral videos of pastors. For example, Marvin Sapp, there's a video of him right now locking out, lock the doors, nobody's leaving. We're raising $40,000 tonight. They do a great job of finding ways to get money to contribute for tithes and offerings, but do you think they've done enough for financial empowerment to earn more income? Or is that even the responsibility?
Well, but besides the income that the church is pulling in, I think we got to change the mindset that church is really a business. And what do I mean by business? You got to find out who your members are in the church and what they do for a living and steer the congregation to these folks. Because when they begin to make money, then their tithes get larger and the like. But there's a deeper factor when it comes to that church. That church, we know today that relationships and engagement is a new currency of the 21st century. That church is the only place in our community where you can have a black woman with a PhD, with an MBA, with contacts out the kazoo, seated right next to another black woman who's a single woman, a single mother with a number of kids trying to elevate her career and get her vocation unpacked. So they're sitting together and they're listening to the sermon, but they really need to dialogue and talk and find out all the contacts that one has in her purse can, enhance the life of another. Until we view that, until we have a mindset shift, what does the Bible say? The Bible says to be born again. Well, take a deeper dive into that verse. Be born again to do what? You can't go into the future with the biology of the past. If you're going to be born again, then change your thinking, which is the greatest power that we've ever been given. The power to change your mind. Whenever your Lord and Savior would walk into a village and he would heal the sick, and he would heal the shut-in, and he would feed the starving, and help the homeless and the poor. And when he changed a life, before he walked away, he always said the words, "Now go and sin no more." Well, sin doesn't mean that I took the last chocolate chip cookie out of the cookie jar. Sin doesn't mean I went into your wife's purse when she wasn't looking and took $1. It doesn't mean that. It means that if I come back here in, 2 years, 2 months, or whatever, and you're still broke, and you're still homeless, and you're still starving, it's because you didn't change your mind. You didn't change your thinking. That is the sin.
Because your mind isn't renewed.
Exactly.
Right? It's still conforming to the patterns of the world.
Exactly.
When you're thinking about the word capitalism, it often has a negative stigma for a lot of people for many different reasons. You think of free enterprise, you think of entrepreneurship. Where do you think the empowering, most positive light is to look at that word and how it can help?
Capitalism is not a dirty word. Capitalism means that everything is for sale. You take the word capitalism, write it on a piece of paper, C-A-P-I-T-A-L-I-S-M. Take the Latin derivative of the word capitalism, kaput. What does it mean in Latin? It means head. And I don't care, you can go ahead and read that seminal text, which I have in my study, and I always read The Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith. And what do we even know about Adam Smith? Adam Smith was a moral philosopher. Adam Smith was an economist. Adam Smith was an abolitionist. He was against slavery. But he tells you, and the capitalism that we see going on in the United States right now was not the same capitalism that Adam Smith professed and espouses, because he tells you in The Wealth of Nations, and we need to listen to this. He says, capitalism, according to Adam Smith, I allow you to pursue your divine self-interest, and you allow me to pursue my divine self-interest. But if one party blocks the other, it is not capitalism. And for 400 years, we've been blocked. So what in the world have we been living under? We've been living under the socialism of the wealthy, of the rich, of the privileged. That's not capitalism. And you look at all the different programs right now, and we're talking about the wealth gap. We're talking about all the different programs. At the end of World War II, Roosevelt came up with the idea. He said from 1943, about a little bit less than 2 years to the end of the war, he tells his team, the way we're going now, this war is going to be over sooner than later, and all these servicemen and women are going to come back from Europe, and we've got an opportunity to create the middle class. Because when they left in 1939 and 40, there was no middle class. So what did he start? He started the GI Bill. And the GI Bill was signed into law. It was law, okay? But the mistake he made, he allowed the army bases to go ahead and administer the GI Bill. Well, who came back from Europe? 1.2 million black soldiers came back from Europe in World War II. And they had the hopes of participating in the GI Bill, which says, hey, if you want to go to college, I'll pay for your tuition. If you want to learn a trade, I'll pay for the trade. If you want to start a business, I'll give you startup capital. If you want a home, I'll give you a grant for a mortgage. But you got to go back to the Army base and they will administer. So they go back to the Army base, and where were all the Army bases? Fort Polk, Louisiana. Fort Hood, Texas. Fort Bragg, North Carolina. They were all in the South.
Interesting.
And in 1945, what Southern going to give a black man money? So what we need now, we need a new GI Bill with a new configuration. We need a new Homestead Act with a new configuration.
I love that. And when I served in the Marine Corps, it was the Montgomery GI Bill. So the Montgomery was added to that GI Bill.
Yeah.
We can no longer use it to fund a business.
Yeah.
The old OG GI
Yeah,
Bill
you
used
sure
to be able to do it.
could.
Now today you can't. It's only used for education or certifications.
Yeah.
And now it's the post 9/11 GI Bill with the global war on terrorism. We can use it for your children, so it's expanded. But it has not allowed them to use it for starting a business.
Yeah, but exactly. But those soldiers came back who were able to go ahead and get the GI Bill. Now they got generational wealth because they were able to buy those homes, Levittown up in New York.
Sure.
And even Donald Trump's father and the
Quick
like.
question,
So,
Dr. Kimbro. You got the book Think and Grow Rich. What makes the great great? And also the wealth choice. What's next for Dr. Kimbro? What's the next?
Well, that's a good question. My editor, bless the heart that I love madly, Random House, they wanted a updated version of Think and Grow Rich, where I wanted an anniversary edition. An anniversary edition, you just put a new cover, new label on the cover of the book. But an updated version, Cedric, you got to rewrite minimum 20% of the book.
20%.
And I'm thinking, if I got to rewrite 20% of the book, I'm coming out with a new book.
Gotcha.
So to answer your question in a circuitous way, I'm coming out with a different, talking to different folks because I still interview. And I still got a head full of stories. And even with all the folks that I've interviewed to date, I have yet to share their story. So I have no shortage of content, believe me.
Okay. So going forward, in spite of the pressures and the redlining and the situation that kept many people in the multicultural demographic behind, what can we do today going forward? What opportunities can we
What
take
do we need
advantage
today?
of?
We need access to capital. We need access to capital, and we need businesses in emerging markets. If you look at the GMP consists of anywhere between 7 to 9 different sectors. Housing is a sector, automotive is a sector, retail is a sector, hospital is a sector, education is a sector. So the bottom line is we need emerging markets.
All right. Good to go? Okay, cool. So Dr. Dennis, you don't think there's access to capital now for the typical person? They can't get a line of credit, they can't get a credit card with $50,000 on it, they can't put together an investment group to pool assets and resources together? You know that can be possible today?
I think, in some circumstances there is access to capital, but the fastest growing generation in terms of entrepreneurship right now are black females. And those barriers and those roadblocks and those obstacles are still up in place for black women. So until we have a level playing field, then any obstacle can be overcome. Okay, so right now, when you look at the millions upon millions of black businesses, 95% of them are sole proprietorships, okay? Don't employ anybody.
Sure.
And to me,
one-man operations.
Exactly. Until we look at entrepreneurship in the clear light of day. What do small business owner operators do? Well, they run small businesses. What do entrepreneurs do? Well, entrepreneurs change the world. And there are 5 phases to entrepreneurship that you got to go through if you are truly an entrepreneur. And I'm not sitting up here going to give you an MBA, but number 1 is new startup. And what in the world is new startup? You're not even in a business. You're working in corporate America, but you know it's just a matter of time before you leave this job and you blast out on your own. Damn near 90% of people working in corporate America are in venture stage number 1.
It's me.
They say, the meter's running, I'm out of here in 3 years, blah, blah, blah. So that's called new venture. Number 2 is called startup. And that startup, you got skin in the game. You got money on the table. You're paying for overhead for lights. You got brick and mortar and the like. And now you got to turn a profit.
Financial skin in the game.
Exactly. The third phase is you go from entrepreneur to manager, which is the number 1 stumbling block in businesses, because a lot of these entrepreneurs don't know how to manage. What is management? Management is planning, organization, and control.
And leadership.
It is not, leadership is the
I got it.
it's the 4th phase.
Gotcha.
Planning, organization, and control. You don't go by demographics, you go by value graphics, because people do business with folks who share the values. And it's not needs and wants today. It is, it is values, it is feelings. So they said, Dr. Kimbro, why are you wearing Under Armour instead of Nike? Well, when I wear my Under Armour, I feel athletic. I feel like I'm on the playing field. Why did you buy, an iPhone instead of an Android? Because when I got an iPhone, I feel creative. I feel innovative. So it is feelings rather than needs and wants. The 4th phase is leadership. And what is leadership? You go to the Bahamas, you go to the beach, you go to the Caribbean, you stay there for a month, but your business is still ticking.
Bingo.
Why? Because you instilled level 5 leadership in your team. What is level 1? I got to follow you because you're my boss. I got to follow you. But what is level 5? Level 5 leadership, I follow you because of what you stand for.
Is that a John Maxwell?
Yeah, no, well, that's not John Maxwell uses that,
Gotcha.
but that wasn't John Maxwell.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Wow.
So that's,
Learned something new today.
Yes, that's level 5 leadership, what you stand for. And then last but not least, mergers and acquisitions, are you going to sell it? What is your exit strategy or mergers and acquisitions? And I shared the story. Are you just building this to get to a level in which you're going to sell it? I had a great interview with Antonio Reed. And I said, man, you and Babyface, man, if you guys lived 20 lifetimes, you guys couldn't spend all the cash that you earned off your record label. And I said, what would motivate you to take a 2-month course at Harvard, in Harvard Business School? And he said, the moment that you cease to grow, you begin to die. And taking a class at Harvard, we're Harvard, and on Friday, you don't fly back to LA. You stay up there because they got different activities during the weekend. And so I said, how in the world did you guys grow so fast? And he said, we were buying up all these small little record labels. And the like. So those are the 5 areas, if you are truly going to be an entrepreneur, that you have got to involve yourself on, or at least anticipate.
I love it. Acquisitions. They had a core business, and the core business they grew. Most people spend the money. Most businesses will spend the money.
Exactly.
They use it to acquire mergers and
acquisitions. That's just a way of scaling.
Yep.
And what way is scaling your business? Scaling your business is increasing your sales, optimizing your sales without any pressure on your current resources.
Amen.
Okay.
One way we did it in our insurance business was we acquired 2 retiring agents that were retiring from their insurance agencies. So we just acquired the business. One easy way to do it. Dr. Dennis Kimbro, I appreciate you.
Love you,
sharing
my
your
brother.
back.
That's a hell of a
100%.
ring you got there, man.
It matches.
Yeah, there you go, man. Somebody got smacked in the mouth for you to get that, bro.
Beat myself up. Get to work.
Well, one thing I can say is a pleasure listening to you, and that's why I've been so quiet. But it all really comes down to discipline.
Yep.
Well, that being said, guys, if you want more information, we're going to put all their links in the description below. So I appreciate you for your knowledge and wisdom, because I believe their first wealth is health. You got to make sure that, right? The first physical wealth is health.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Dennis Kimbro, thank you for your knowledge. We're going to continue following your work. Can somebody like myself just kind of visit you in a classroom and see you work?
Yeah? You'd be shocked who have spoken in my classroom.
Okay.
From Steve Harvey to T.I. I mean, I've been blessed. The Kimby Mutombo.
I love it.
Ayanla Van Zandt.
Gotcha.
Travis Smiley.
There it is. That being said, guys, I appreciate you for tuning in. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you subscribe. Share this with somebody who gain value from this podcast. And if you haven't done so yet, please put your biggest takeaway in the comment section below. But have us the Trust Up Conference here in Dallas, Texas. Everybody, smart guy.
Trust up,
until we meet again. Continue to live smart, continue to love smart, and be money smart today. God bless you.
Bless.